Who are you, bro?
My name is Musonga and I'm a visual artist. Grew up in Canberra but primarily based in Sydney.
What would you say is your primary source of art, your primary art form?
I'd say it's, I kind of work with multi-medium, so spray paint, acrylic, oil pastels, mostly in the bag of expressionist work, so that's like free-flowing, how I feel in the moment, and then stepping a bit more into like more traditional forms, so doing like figurative work these days, more portraiture, and really drawing from the influence of masters in the arts as well, which is real cool.
Why do you do it though? Like, I'm assuming, yeah, this could be your job, but like, let's say if you were set for life, would you still paint? Would you still do art? Why do you wake up and do it?
Oh, good question, man. For me, it's like, I view art as like, it's a timestamp for a moment in time. It's almost like the canvas is a documentary in the visual form. And the main reason I started was like, I felt like my friends and I were just doing really cool things. And we were getting recognition in the spaces of music, like fashion, photography. But at that time, like, we weren't really in art galleries, or we weren't going to openings or shows, or we weren't seeing our story told there. So yeah, I was just like inspired to start talking about what me and my friends were doing, almost as like a timestamp for us. So when we look back, we can reflect on that moment in time well beyond. And yeah, that's still been the story. So I feel like I'm just telling the story of like, I guess, youth culture in Australia, and the new faces popping up, but as well as the ones who have inspired us. And, you know, hopefully 5-10 years from now, when we look back, we can be like, oh, that was that period of our life. And yeah, it's a documentary for sure.
So if your life or your career, either one, was a book, what chapter are you in right now?
Yo, great question. I feel like I'm stepping out of the emerging artist into like that mid career, where it's like with intention, where it's with the substance, with the understanding of art history, with like the desire to be a true and great artist in Australian history. You know, I feel like up until now, it's always been vibes and it's been for fun, and it's something that I just naturally enjoy and have done well and continues to go well. But I've made that conscious decision now to like put the hours in to become a great artist and to do what I can to empower other artists. So yeah, entering that mid career stage for sure.
So if you knew all that you knew now at the beginning of your career, would you do anything different? Or?
Good question. You know, I actually think so. In that, like, there were a lot of like hurdles and roadblocks, which obviously you have to go through as a young person. But especially spending time in a place like London, where you don't actually realize just how many barriers exist in Australia that don't need to. Like, it should be possible to just like, if you want to be an artist, there should be spaces to do that, or you should know who can help you get there. So I think at that time, I would have spent probably upwards of like 1 to 3 years of just like finding spaces, as opposed to just like knowing what I want to do and being able to kind of set on that path. So if I knew then what I know now, I'd kind of avoid like the closed doors and just go straight for those opportunities, but still grateful.
We have a more personal one. Who is Musonga the artist versus Musonga away from art? Is there any differences? Is it pretty much the same?
Great question. I feel like definitely like I feel like the artist is something that I do, and it's not even like, that's not my identity, I would say. Like, I don't really ever enter rooms talking about my art, or like, I don't ever lean on that as being who I am. Like, if I'm meeting somebody, I'm never wanting to meet them based on what I've done or what I do. It's like based on my character and who I am as a person. So I feel like art is just like a small part of, it's like my expression. But for me, it's like my character and the way I show up in rooms and how honest I am and transparent. And how understanding, self-aware I am is the priority. So like me as a person is just wanting to be the best person that I can be. And then the art is something that I'm grateful to have, an avenue that I can express myself and inspire others. But yeah, it's not the end all be all, which is cool.
I hear that, but do you often feel like people neglect you as a person and just focus on the song of the artist? There's always the artist attached to it.
Good question. Good question. I feel like I would say, actually, it's a mix. It's definitely a mix. Like, I still enter spaces or galleries where, I'm the only person that looks like me, and by default, that's just like, it shakes the room up or whatever else. Although I am an artist, like I think just being like a black person first, it's like that's always that's like the perception that is always there, no matter which room I enter into. So yeah, always having that awareness. But I think when people figure out that I'm an artist, it does come with like, what would you say? It does come with all these other agendas and like these hidden perspectives and the like. But also just being aware enough to protect that and be true to that is, yeah, it's something that I hold dearly. So never wanting to show up inauthentically, like always wanting to be true and knowing when a space is not going to serve or when they're in it for the wrong reasons. Also being very quick to just like cut that off and to know not to, like it's not really, that's not what we're doing at this time, so yeah.
Do you often feel, with a political one, but in Australia, do you often feel the industry here, they'll forever, for the foreseeable future, see you as a black person or a person of color before they ever see you as an artist in the corporate sense? So you walk into a corporate room, that's the first thing they'll see. And then someone tells them, oh wow, he's really one of the greatest artists to come out of Australia.
For sure.
It's like, oh okay, we've got no reason but to accept that, but they'll forever see that when you walk into these corporate rooms. Do you feel that the industry in Australia is closer to remaining like that than changing compared to other cities you've been to?
Yo, good question. I feel like it's, how would I say it? It's always been like that, and I can see it staying that way, like just because it benefits, like just benefits the institution to have that, like to be able to box you in and to almost like, to minimize impact, or to say like, minimize influence as well, because you don't fit the mold or fit the box of what they think a great Australian artist is. So I think that it's always there, and I'm sure that will always be there, at least for the next like few years, or I'd even say decades. But for me, I feel like that's never really deterred me, or that's never been like something that I was wanting to navigate anyway. Like for me, it's always been, I'm not even want to be a great artist. Like always just believed I was a great artist and wanted to tell my story, but to tell it truthfully and authentically. So not wanting it to be tweaked so that it's easier for a gallery to present, or not wanting it to be tweaked so that it's easier to market or to sell. It's like, no, I just want to talk about what matters to me, the music I listen to, the clothes I wear, the people who inspire me, my upbringing, like where I come from, being an African Australian. These are my roots, this is my culture, and never wanting to pivot away from that, like wanting it to just be true and honest. So it's always been there, and I think it's like one that also takes additional effort. So back on the early question, like before I can even present work, sometimes I have to justify why I'm in the space first. Whereas what I've learned, especially overseas, is if an artist is like a black artist, or from African descent or Jamaican descent, or from the diaspora, they can just express themselves. It's understood, there are spaces for them, and then they can just show that story as it is. Whereas here it's a bit more like you have to explain the story, almost like verify it, almost like justify it, and then if they're like, okay, we see the vision, then they might give you that opportunity. So I think with time, hopefully that's something that goes away, but yeah, it's always around.
I feel like what people fail to realize that really and truly, even the phrase or the term or the saying African Australian is so new.
Facts.
It's only really been around for what, 30, 40 years maybe, if not less. You know, we're a whole new generation of, you know, for like every second African you meet, their parents were immigrants. Or they themselves were immigrants.
Facts.
So do you feel like the creative entertainment industry is almost afraid of what, as we're talking about impact, what we'll do with this impact? That's why they'll kind of box us in. You know, if we make this major impact, you know, we're not going to shout at the industry. We're going to point out our brothers that came with us, or you know, we're not going to kind of bend and fold to their rules. We're going to, you know, do it our way because that's all we're doing, kind of thing. Do you think they're afraid of that?
Yeah, for sure. And I think they're almost like trying to pretend it doesn't exist. Like they're still doing that, but like I think beautifully enough though, it's getting to a place where it's just undeniable and it's hard to pretend that it's not happening. Like there's just so many talented people coming up, and the faces of industries are changing, and it's more common to see like people of color, if not in the space, they're just starting their own. And yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think it's also such a privilege to be that first wave of inspiration and influence, and for us to take that understanding of Australian culture, which we've grown up in and around and with, and then find this beautiful like crossroad with our own heritage and like where we come from and what inspires us, and how even just how we speak and the influences we take. Like I really feel like we're adding, like we're bringing to Australia sometimes what it's just missing, like the things that it really needs to be seen. We're like really, like I just say paving the way and making, I genuinely believe making like Australian culture interesting for the rest of the world. Like we're the ones who are actually telling the story in a unique way and to the highest quality in this way that hasn't been seen before, and really paving like what I guess the underground is, at least for the time being, but then also the next wave of resources and institutions and opportunities as well. So it's cool.
Yeah, I'd say I would agree, because as you're saying, to the highest quality, I feel like, you know, maybe I could be playing victim, but what we do is so suppressed in the sense that because it's so new, you know, maybe you were told as a child too that you always have to be 10 times better.
Facts.
So because it's so new, because you always have to be 10 times better, because in some aspects it's always suppressed that it will be the highest quality, it will be, you know, subjectively better than what they've got going on in London, New York, Paris. Because there's almost, yes, they've had their struggles, but this is our struggle now. And it's different. You can't compare it.
I agree.
You can't compare it. You have to go back hundreds of years for them to compare it. Hundreds, 200 years. I don't know the history of America. We have to go back all the way then for them to compete with that.
Exactly.
So it's definitely exciting. I hate to lean back on the industry, but
let's go.
At this stage of your career, how would you define your presence within the industry, and how does that resemble or differ to the reality of it? Like, is it the same? Do you feel like you should be, you know, let's be honest, do you feel like you should be here, but the reality is here in the industry, whether it's here in Sydney, London, wherever?
You know, great question. Great. I love, you know, I love my like place in the industry, and I love that I'm able to inspire my friends to do what I do, and able to put them on game that I didn't have when I started. So it's like I'm at the probably 7th year of my career now, but I'm able to see an artist who's in like their 2nd or 3rd month and literally just tell them like, yeah, don't go that way, don't do this, and this, and in like a year, 2 years from now, you'll be at this level. which again for me was like 7 years of like figuring stuff out. So to be in a position now where I'm like able to almost like help artists just like fast forward through to where they should be, fire. That's like my biggest like blessing and privilege, and to work with galleries as well, and the people I work with who believe in me and trust in me and push me to grow, amazing. And I think, so yeah, by industry perspective, I think in Australia definitely deserving more recognition, and that just comes from the time spent in like, I spent overseas where, you know, I spent 2 months traveling, and within that window of time, like there were galleries like, so galleries in Dubai, galleries in Paris, galleries in South Africa, galleries in London, who are just like, not even, it wasn't even, what's the word, like they weren't just like, okay, this guy's work is cool. They're like, no, this is phenomenal work. Like this is important work. This is necessary work. Like to be in other countries and other places, and for them, pretty much, they were writing for my work harder than anyone I'd ever met as well. And I was blown away because in Australia, it can be tricky to find those galleries and those spaces for support. And then I'm going to like the hubs of art culture, and they're the ones who are like, oh, you're there, or we already believe in this, or we want to work with you. So it's also just recognizing that the ceiling is here, wanting to raise it and push it up as high as I can, and just see if that is possible. Otherwise, it's just spending time in. I'll be in Paris, I'll be in London, I'll be in Dubai, I'm chilling, which is a blessing. I'm grateful, but yeah, man, I feel
Is
that.
there a glass ceiling in Australia? Do you feel like?
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Do you feel like there's a glass ceiling in this country? Like, from what you can see, you can't see what the future of the industry, or of anything in the industry, the future of creativity in this country. You can't see where it goes to. But as of now, do you feel like?
Definitely, and I feel like it's almost unnecessary though. Is my like, that's why I don't really get jaded by it. Like, we have exactly what we need to do something special, and it's which is interesting. Like, you have to convince people that is the case. Like, you have to say like, look, we get it. This ceiling protects whatever it is like you think it's protecting. But it's also doing more damage than you're actually seeing, or you're making life harder for yourself. So I feel like it's there, but it doesn't really like need to be there. So I even just like, I operate around it. And I think until it gets to a point where it's just not like, where it's not fun, or it's actually like, you can tell people genuinely just don't want things to change, I think that's when it will become an issue. But yeah.
All right, the last two questions. What would be your favorite piece of work that hasn't been sculpted yet, that hasn't been created yet? What would that look like? You don't have to put ideas to it, but what would it look like? Your favorite artwork that hasn't been put together yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think a work that depicts, I think the experience of being an African Australian in Australia, but it's like authentic, and it's like something that when we look at it, we just like feel like this reflects the struggle, but it reflects the direction that we're going, reflects all our challenges. But it's like, it's also authentically us. Like, I think being able to achieve just one work that feels like that, where generations can walk past and understand what's going on. I think that's the one, and that's what I'm exploring at the moment.
What do you think the story is right now? What's the story being told right now in present time? What's the story that's going on in this moment within creativity in Australia?
I think it's the DIY, the do-it-yourself mentality, where we're told we can't do something or it can't work, so we just do it ourselves. Like, we just don't listen to that, and I think that that covers all facets of culture. Like, that's the musicians, that's the models that we see, the photographers, the events that are happening now, and like the spaces and that we're seeing. It's like, in most cases we've wanted to be in this space, hasn't happened for us, so we just started it ourselves. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're misunderstood as a person?
Good question. Good question. I think there was a period, like especially in the early days, like starting visual art without a blueprint. Crazy. Like you can't really explain that to people when it hasn't been done before. Like obviously you can see it, but not everyone else can see it. I think when I was younger, definitely, but as I find as I get older, being more intentional with spaces. So I'm only in spaces where I'm understood and where the conversations we're having make sense, and we're talking about what we want to do and we're believing that we can do it. So yeah, I'd say now more understood, but in the early days, for sure.
How much of your childhood would be a reflection of yourself today, do you feel?
Fire. I think all of it as well, which I'm so proud about. I think I think this, like the youth club is this week, and to be in that sort of space, just starting from where, starting from where I started from, but we all started from, and seeing a cosign as big as someone like Nike, just knowing like as a kid that's what I'd wear, or like that's like one of my first understandings of life because it was everywhere, and just knowing that the path that I chose and the path that I walked is the same one that inspired me at that time, and it's still working, and it's allowing me to do the things I've always dreamed of. So yeah, I definitely still feel like the kid that I was when I started.
What would you say to the Australians saying, how can you like Nike as a child if that's an American thing?
Real.
What would you say to that?
That's real. I would just say like I still remember the early like 2000s of Australia, and like there just weren't people that looked like us like anywhere, like not on TV, not on radio, not in like public spaces. So like I never really felt represented, and this is again early 2000s, but I didn't feel like the things that inspired me were represented, or I was represented in those days. So my point of references and my influences were the things within my home, and like my parents having their own love for style and their own love for fashion and dressing a certain way, and the music they would play. To me, like Australia, all my life, my understanding was like within that home. So to me, that was the Australian like experience or upbringing. And obviously now we're kind of tweaking that to our own understanding of the world as we grow. But yeah, I'd say that's kind of what I saw when I was growing up.
So do you think Australia, but do you think Australia has themselves to blame if they feel like African Australians look, dress, speak, interact in a similar way as, you could say, the UK, America? Obviously we are African, so African artists, creators. Do you think the Australian industry has themselves to blame because that is what, there was nothing for us to look at until, really you could say, until the last 5 years really?
Facts. Yeah, I would say it's like, it's kind of like we didn't really have cultural curators at that time. And it's like such a tricky one because we weren't here at that point in time, and even just adding that when our parents, for a lot of us, moved here, they weren't given the opportunities that they had worked their whole lives for, like the qualifications that they had as well. So I can definitely say like the way we're treated and not given the spaces, not given the resources, not given the facilities to be our best. That's definitely on Australia as a whole and the industry as a whole. But I think what we're finding is the first generation kids are growing up, and we have a very solid understanding of what it means to be Australian, but then also what it means to be from our roots and from our heritage. And we're able to now articulate our story as clearly and as clearly as we've always wanted to, or maybe our parents wanted to. And we're finding ways to now bring the two together and and share that. So we have people who are curating culture and who are in the rooms that they need to be in. And so I think it's just like, it's a timing thing. I think, the timing The timing is kind of, it's arrived now and it's sick. It's sick to live within it. Yeah, it's definitely exhausting. I know all of us are tired, but it's sick to see it as well.
Do you feel like this current generation, it's subjective, but do you feel like this current generation is here to facilitate the next? Or do you generally feel that this generation will have a greater, if not equal impact as the next generation of African Australians to come?
Great question. I feel like it'll be the one for impact, in that the right doors are opening for us. I feel like one of the biggest challenges in creativity is longevity, and I guess getting the financial support to actually live out as a creative. I think because there is a generation before us as well, and for a lot of them, I know that finance was just like the hardest part.
So you think essentially we are part of the first, but
for sure. Oh, good
we're
job.
at 1.5 kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Maybe we have like people a bit older than us that we could look to. Good question. So I think, when it's phrasing. No, it's cool. I think that's the right one to ask. I feel like this generation will build the infrastructure, so we'll facilitate the spaces and the opportunities that the next generation will need to just be comfortable as creatives. I believe that can happen, just through starting, like, for example, starting an art gallery of my own, or having pop-up spaces and stores where people can come and hang out and just network and get to know each other, and spaces like Art Club. They're goals that I've set for myself, and I'm sure that for the next generation, just the young kids seeing that and knowing that that's possible will be enough for them to fine-tune it and then take it to the next level. So I can see that, yeah.
I know it's not really the best way to look at it, like living in the past, but do you feel like we're almost, I feel like this is probably the easiest way for people to grasp the time we're in. Do you feel like we're almost the 90s era of American hip-hop, American rap, as in there's impact definitely on the way, but what that impact, we can't tell what that impact will be in the next 15, 20 years, because that'll be a whole different generation. But that different generation will reap the benefits of the foundation we've laid.
For sure. I definitely feel that. Definitely, like we're like the forerunners, and we've kind of figured it out for ourselves, and in doing that, it means future generations will be able to have it to have it just make sense, to have those pathways laid out and that sort of thing. So for sure.
Last question for the sit down.
That's cool.
What inspires you to create?
I feel like I think it's just life, like, and it's like the day-to-day is so just like living a life that I enjoy and doing things that I enjoy and trying new things and achieving goals that I set out when I was much younger, and that just inspiring me and propelling me to want to do more and to aim for more. So yeah, it's just life, and that's a blessing, because it's just like with every stage of my life, I'm sure I'll be inspired by something new.
Thank you. If I can just get you to sign out, say Musonga, say what you do here with Phonebook, sign out.
Cool. Yeah, my name is Musonga. I'm a visual artist, and I'm here with Phonebook. Cold, bro. Those questions, those questions were goated.